Hello, everyone. My name is Don Thomas. I have the pleasure to serve you as the City of Detroit's Fire Marshal. The Fire Marshal Division as a whole does building inspections for commercial and residential homes, as well as fire protection engineering and design. I've been in this position for the past 3 years. I was appointed by our Executive Commissioner, Charles Sims. And again, it's my pleasure to serve you as your city's Fire Marshal. So thank you all for joining us this evening. This is the third installment of DFD's safety series of webinars. Our Commissioner, Fire Commissioner Chuck Sims, asked us to host these webinars to provide you with the most up-to-date information to stay safe and to meet you exactly where you are. So today, you'll learn how to protect yourself and your family from home, at home rather, while cooking and using candles and yes, even smoking. What we'll do is share some national and Detroit specific data about the fires within the city, some of the related causes, and help yourselves along with your family and pass the information that you learn and share with others. So, if you enjoyed tonight's presentation, which I'm sure you will, the webinars will be held the second Wednesday of the month at 6 p.m. at the very same link that you used to get here today. Just as a teaser, in April, we'll walk you through something that we fire professionals do every day. We'll help you create a fire safety plan for your home and your business. In May, as we prepare for summer, we'll talk about summertime safety, which includes best practices for using grills, pits, and my favorite, jokingly, fireworks. In June, we'll talk to you about what it means to be a key part of keeping Detroit heart safe and how you, our residents, our guests, and our friends here can be involved and maybe even save a life. But on the topic of tonight's subject, our subject matter expert for this presentation is Captain Teresa Hassel of DFD's Community Relations Division. Captain Hassel is one of the leading subject matter experts within the city as it relates to community risk reduction and home and fire safety. Her background is that she's been a firefighter on the fire department for since 1996. She was a firefighter for 12 years and continuously volunteered her time working in the community for education purposes for life and fire safety for children in schools and also for our seniors. So, if you have any questions related to tonight's presentation, you can click on the link that will be shared on the screen, or you can scan the QR code as well, and we'll see your questions and answer them at the end of Captain Hassel's presentation. So now I'll turn it over to our subject matter expert, Captain Hassel. Take it away.
Good evening. I am Captain Hossell with the Detroit Fire Department's Community Relations Division, and I am going to give you some good information about fires in your kitchen, your smoking, and your candle fires. So welcome, and thank you for joining us here for the DFD Safety Series. So I don't have a lot of time, but I do have a lot of information, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. So cooking, everybody's got a kitchen and we're all not so good at using them, at least not everybody. So let me tell you some stuff about your cooking. It's a routine activity. So again, everybody's got a kitchen. It's the leading cause of reported home fires and home injuries. So that's the number one reason why people are in those fires, having fires, and again, getting injured in those fires. And it's also the leading cause of home fire deaths, or actually, it's the second leading cause. And I'm going to tell you about the first in a second. So let's go with some national key findings. Cooking causes an average of 1,600 fires every year. So that's like 160,000 fires every year. An average of 470 people die. There's almost 4,200 are injured per year. And ranges and stoves, that's the number one reason why we're having those fires. However, 53% of those cooking fires are actually related to your stove. But you've got your toaster ovens, hot plates, and other things electrical that are in the kitchen. Electric ranges are far more riskier than gas stoves, which surprised me and hurt me because I have always used a electric stove. The leading factor that contributes to those is what we call the careless cook or distracted person. You start cooking and you leave the kitchen, you decide you're going to throw a load of clothes into the dryer. And once you get downstairs, you decide you're going to fold the clothes, wash another couple loads. So again, that's that distracted or that careless cook that kind of forgets they're cooking and leaves stuff unattended. And last but not least, something I need you to remember, they always say be careful when you're cooking about if your clothes are going to catch on fire. But something to remember about clothes, clothes catching on fire being the first thing that catches fire is less than 1%, but there's 7% of the deaths. So out of those, the original number that I gave you, that 470 that die, 33 of those because their clothes caught fire. So that pretty ruffle shirt that you're wearing, think about it before you actually cook in it. Some other numbers I want to give you is like 25% of the cooking deaths, people fell asleep. You start cooking, you're going to sit down, you get too relaxed, and again, you'll fall asleep. 50% of the injuries were people that were trying to be firefighters. Yes, more than half the people that actually got injured were people that were trying to put their fires out themselves. And just for the record, they give me $7,000 worth of equipment and they give me $1 million rig. So if it was easy, I wouldn't have all that equipment. So now these are some Detroit statistics that I kind of want you to have in your mind. 22% of the structure fires that we have are related to cooking. 14% of them was improper cooking. Like you see the TikTok things about folks using the iron and the toaster to make grilled cheese sandwiches. Leave that to TikTok. It's just a show. And because cooking is, again, our second leading cause of fires in Detroit, we are on par with the national. And again, I'm going to tell you about that number one cause of fires in a second. So what do I need you to do? These are your cooking tips. A, I need you to be alert. Careless cook, distracted cookers, those are the number one reason why we're having those fires. So some things that we can do. Again, stay in the kitchen, stay alert. If you cook your food regularly, use a timer. Like go in there I'm gonna cook it between 4 and 5 o'clock. I'm not leaving this kitchen. I'm gonna cook. Put a timer on. And keep anything that can catch fire away from the stovetop. And they say anything, that means do not put your wooden spoon, do not put your pot holder, anything that's flammable. You need to, or can burn, keep it away from your stovetops. But let's say it's too late, you've got that fire. So now what are we going to do? Stovetop fires, if it's sitting on the stove, you're going to slide the lid across. You don't want to just come in because that heat can bag you up. You want to slide in and you're going to cover the top. And what does that do? That's going to take away the oxygen. Fires are alive. They breathe. They need oxygen. Without the oxygen, they'll go out. Now, I caution you, once you have put the top on that pot, do not lift that top up because what are you introducing into that pot now? Lots of oxygen. And it can literally, on some occasions, actually explode. So we do not, again, once you actually put the top on, leave the top on. And we're going to, of course, turn it off and move it from the eye if you can. If not, just leave it there. Let it cool down. Now, if it's in the oven, turn everything off, keep that door closed, and eventually the oxygen that's in the stove, it'll deplete and the fire will go out. But if you need to, use a fire extinguisher, or you can use anything that's white, powder, and floury. And what do I mean by that? Grab that whole canister of flour and flip it on there and sprinkle it out. Because what it does is it's going to do the same thing that a fire extinguisher can do. It's going to remove the oxygen, just like we put the top on. That's the take away the oxygen, put the fire out. Now, if you are using a fire extinguisher, this is a side nugget I need you to remember. The typical fire extinguisher only has about 10 to 15 seconds of extinguishing power. So you're talking 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. 10 seconds later, it could be empty. So again, your backup plan is anything that's white, powder, and floury. Your flour, sugar, salt, cornstarch. So anything that's that floury stuff, it'll do the same as the fire extinguisher do. And of course, I need you to put this in the front of your mind. When in doubt, get the heck out. Remember, they give me $7,000 worth of equipment to go into that fire, and $1 million piece of equipment. So I need you to always be safe. So let's gonna move on to that smoking. Smoking related fires are the leading cause of home fire deaths. Yes, it's number one. People are dying in home. The most number one cause of the fatalities or the reason why we're dying is because of the smoking. It's 100% preventable. And we're going to talk about some of those safety tips that you kind of want to adhere to if you're a smoker or if you have a smoker. And the risk of dying from smoking in a home fire, it goes up with age because we get a little bit more relaxed, a little bit easier the older we get. I can tell you at 58 is true. So let me go over some key findings about smoking. And then you notice on my picture, I'm going to tell you a little bit about a regular cigarette and your e-cigarettes, which is becoming quite popular with a lot of people. In any case, that fire that can occur when the e-cigarette is being transported. That means if it's in your pocket, if it is in your purse, if it's in your hand or even in your car, yes, just having it can just start itself into a fire. They occur while you're using them or while the battery's being charged. Most of those should have a lithium battery, and charging a lithium battery over and over and over and over again can at some point cause the battery to fail. So again, it can cause a fire. So you plug it up, you sit it on the table, you walk away, you come back, you smell smoke. It's got your table on fire. And those fires can even occur when the e-cigarette is it can actually lead to a small explosion. There have been countless numbers of story of people actually just smoking, and the thing just explodes. Because again, it's a lithium battery, and lithium batteries sometimes have a mind of their own. Relaxation and sleeping. Too comfortable falling asleep. That's the number one factor to go into these fires that caused by the smoking. Again, most deaths result in the fire. They start in the living room, in the family room, and then in the bedroom, places where people are getting really comfortable and may even fall asleep. So keep that in mind when you're smoking. And medical oxygen. I caution you, when you are using O2, oxygen can speed the fire up. Right now, the oxygen or the air that we're breathing is actually only 21% oxygen, which means it's 79% other stuff. I call it junk and nitrogen. Most of it's nitrogen. That stuff they're putting in our tires nowadays. But when somebody's actually on oxygen, every millimeter of oxygen that comes out of that tank does not go into their lungs. A lot of it's dissipating out into the room. So when you're in a room where somebody's using oxygen, instead of 21% oxygen, which is normal air, you might even have 50%. So you've got more oxygen in the air, which means there's a lot greater chance of a fire or even a fire burning fast and burning quick. So what are your safety tips for your smoking? Be alert, smoke outside. Send people outside. Don't let them smoke in your house at all. That way you know can't fall asleep if you're standing outside in 30-degree weather. And maybe they'll smoke less. That was a side nugget too. If you smoke, you can stop using regular cigarettes. They now have what they call fire safe cigarettes, which means you have to inhale deeper, inhale longer. And if you don't puff on that cigarette for a few minutes, it can burn itself out. So that way, and again, some states have actually regulated where they won't even allow you to sell anything except fire safe cigarettes. Make your ashtrays deep and make them sturdy and, you know, place them around away from stuff that's combustible. Maybe I went into the store the other day, try to find an ashtray as a little piece here, and I could not find you what I needed to just kind of show you. But I would suggest maybe getting a bowl getting a bowl and having that, putting some sand, putting some water, making sure that they can put that material out so it's out when they know it's out. Because if you go to certain buildings, you'll see there's a sand inside of their ashtray. That's so they'll know that cigarette's out. And you can make a small ashtray with put some with the bowl with the sand and actually replicate that. Never smoke or allow anyone to smoke when you're using medical oxygen. Remember, I just told you about that 21% oxygen can actually go to 50% because every bit of oxygen that's coming out the tank is not being inhaled, it's going into the air. So if somebody's smoking, when somebody else is using oxygen, that's a recipe for disaster. So make them go outside. Fire extinguishers, if it's have it available just in case. But again, when in doubt, I need you to get the heck out. Now I want to give you another side nugget. This information I want you to pay very close attention to. 25% of the people that are killed in the smoking fires are not the smokers. Again, other people die. 25% of those people that are dying weren't even the person that were smoking the cigarette. So when we say it's the leading cause of deaths and fatalities, 25% of those people weren't even smokers. So again, when somebody's smoking in your house, they're making you kind of unsafe. So let's move on to candles, a little bit more happy. And why do I say that? Because candles, they smell good, they look good, they're pretty and they glow, just like the pretty picture I got going there. I love a good Bath and Body Works candle. And we use them in religious services or even our place of worship or at home. And everybody, no matter how old or how young, loves a candle on a cake. So next month on my birthday, if you feel the need to put a big old 5 and a big old 8 on top of my carrot cake or my red velvet, no pressure, no pressure, niece. But some information I want you to know about that candle that we love to have on our cake, that we think is pretty and smells good, causes 4% of the fires, 3% of the deaths, 6% of the injuries, and 4% of all the property that's damaged in a fire is done by that pretty candle. So what are some of the national candle findings that we have? December is the month that those home fires go up. More than 1/3 of the candle fires start in the bedroom. So you want to set the mood, not setting the mood. 3 out of 5 of those candle fires, they start with things that can burn or too close. You put the candle on top of the dresser, it's right next to the window, it's too close, the wind blows, poof, now you got a fire. Now think about this. The candles price, they range from $1.25 at the Dollar Tree or Voda candle, all the way up to like $35 for that Bath and Body Works pillar candle, one with the 3 and 4 wicks in the inside. But they can cost as much as $200. But these candle fires account for 5,910 structure fires. So again, that $1.25 candle, almost 6,000 fires are started by that. 74 civilians die every year on average because of that $1.25 candle. 558 people are injured every year because of that $1.25 candle. And $257 million of property damage because of that $1.25 candle. So what's our safety tips when it comes to that candle? Well, use a sturdy candle holder. When you go to Dollar Tree and you buy that candle holder, I want you to keep in mind, glass must be tempered in order for it to be fire safe. And for $1.25, the chances of it actually being a tempered candle or tempered glass for that candle is probably slim to none. So I caution you about buying candles from that Dollar Tree for $1.25. They need to be at least 1 foot clear from everything around. So just like when you have a space heater, we tell you keep it 3 feet all the way around, nothing near it. We're going to tell you that same spacing. Well, the same principle. different spacing. Instead of 3 feet, we want it to be 1 foot. So don't put your candle on the counter and it's 3 inches from your curtain. Don't put the candle on the dresser if it's sitting right next to something that's flammable, maybe a jewelry box. So be very careful where you place that candle. Never use the candle if you're using oxygen in your home. You don't want open flame where you're using oxygen, because remember I told you, if somebody's using oxygen, the oxygen level is not at 21. It could be at 50%, which means stuff are going to catch fire faster and burn faster. Blow out all the candles before you go to sleep. That is, do not light a candle and actually decide you're going to just let it burn itself out. That is not a good idea. I do remember the one last candle fire that I went to and if you're on this line, I apologize for telling your story, but if you don't tell nobody it's you, they won't know it's you. But we went to this young lady's house, and for whatever reason, the lights, it was one of those storms that came through, lights were out everywhere, and she literally lit a candle in each one of her rooms, and she went on to sleep. And of course, her house caught fire, and we're there, and she's in shock. And all I kept thinking is, why would you light a candle in every room and then go to sleep? Number one, I wouldn't turn on if the lights weren't off. I wouldn't have turned on every light in every room and went to sleep. When we go to sleep at night, we turn all of our lights out. So same way with that candle. Do not leave that candle burning. Blow those candles out. Don't leave them unattended at all. Burn them out. Don't let them burn all the way down to the bottom. Because remember I told you about that Dollar Tree candle? It burns to the bottom. That flame is 1600 degrees. That glass is not tempered and can't not withstand that 1600-degree heat from that and break. And if it's sitting on top of your wooden dresser, now we have a fire. So don't let them burn all the way down. And I know we like to get the last little bit and mush it around and swish it around. Throw it away. $1.25. Remember, $257 million worth of damage. During a power outage, do not use a candle. Do not use a candle. And if you do think about candles, um, instead of using a candle, I want you to do something for me. It's a point below, but I want to bring it up now. It's called a Power Through It All kit. What do I mean by that? Grab you an old book bag, especially if you got kids. Every year you buy a new book bag, and nothing is wrong with the book bag they had last year. So take one of those book bags. Put everything you need in that book bag if the lights go out. Put you a flashlight for everybody in the home. So if it's you and 4 kids, how many flashlights do you need? 5. Also, you're going to keep another light, a big light, one of those big square flashlights, or they've got something big so that you can actually illuminate one room. So that way, if somebody leaves the room, you still got light on. And then put extra batteries that you need for each one of those flashlights. You can actually they have power packs in there so you can be able to charge your phone. Again, put all that in the bag, put it in the closet. That's what I do. And so when my lights go out, now I live in Detroit too, been born and raised here in the city for my entire 58 years or almost 58 years. And when the lights go out, and they do twice a year, I don't scramble for batteries and flashlights. I go to the closet, I open it up, take it out, and I take whatever I need out. I got my flashlight right there. And it's so much easier and it's convenient, and it doesn't make you tempted to go and light a candle. Okay. And use a flameless candle. Get the ones on the bottom. You just flip the switch and boom, it's on. And of course, keep a fire extinguisher or anything that's white, powder, and floury. And as I always say, remember, when in doubt, get the heck out. So when you call 911, if you see the smoke, if you see flames in your home, get out, call 911. Remember, I told you, those people are getting injured because they're trying to do what they're not trained to do. If it's something that's too big for you, walk away from it. Remember, I told you that fire extinguisher only has 10 to 15 seconds. So if not properly used, it could be empty and the fire could still be going. So if you cannot, and it goes fast. When they say fire can spread fast, I need you to put this in your mind. A fire is going to double in size every 30 seconds. So 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 30 seconds later, big becomes bigger, huge becomes enormous. So I need you to, again, everything can be replaced. You cannot. You are the only you God's making. He's never going to make you again. But all that material stuff can be replaced. So remember, DFD is here for you. Our response time is one of the best in the nation, well under that 5-minute mark. In some cases, 3 to 5 minutes is what we tell people. And we'll be there if you need it. So in summary, stay safe, be safe, and remember, when in doubt, get the heck out. So thank you for joining us today for our DFD safety series. If you have any questions, here is my information. If you want to screenshot it or take a picture right quick. And here is our Q&A.
Thank you, Captain Hassel, for a very spirited and engaging discussion on home fire safety. One of the things that stuck out with me was about the candles specifically. So I'm discouraged now from taking that trip down the aisle looking for candles at Dollar Tree, and will now step my game up and go to Bed Bath and Beyond. So again, thank you for that information. And now we'll take any questions that we have in the chat. Again, you can scan the QR code or click the link for questions related to the wonderful presentation that Captain Hassel had for home fire safety. First question, Captain Hassel. What if we want to roast something in the oven overnight at a low temperature? Is that safe?
No, I would not. It is just as easy to get up early in the morning and turn that oven on and be awake, turn your timer on, and do just what you would do if you were asleep. To me, I would rather prefer be awake. It is much safer. Remember, we don't want to be that person that leaves that cooking unattended. Okay. So again, I would not. It is not safe. I would not do it. I have never done it. So I would encourage you not to.
Thank you, Captain Hassel. So no overnight slow roasted ribs, right?
Absolutely not.
Even though they would
And
probably taste good.
even though, yeah, no, no.
Okay, the second question here, is there anything specifically we should know about candles and pets?
I think, if you consider your pet your fur baby, and the same precautions that you would take with a child, you should be taking with your fur baby. If you know you have a cat that jumps on the counter, I would definitely not put the candle on the counter. Um, if I have a 10-pounder. She can't even jump any higher than my knee. So again, I would caution you against anything that you think, your fur baby, you know what they're capable of. And I would, again, tell you to be quite cautious in using anything, especially a candle. If you know you have a fur baby that jumps on the counter, don't put the candle on the counter.
Okay. We have another question. What kind of extinguishers should we have in our homes?
When you go to purchase your extinguisher, I want you to do two things. I want you to make sure it says ABC. ABC is the type of fire. A is like paper, any paper that burns. Um, your B fire is your well, what we call them ordinary combustibles. I'm having a fuzzy moment right now. Fire marshal, jump in.
So you have the A, B, and C extinguishers, which take care of ordinary combustibles,
Liquid.
some flammables, and then as well electrical. So um, the ones that you purchase for your home that you can get at Home Depot are the type of the 10-pounder. And again, the good notes, the good information that you shared with our guest today is on how long that extinguisher lasts. Can you reiterate that, please?
Yeah. if it's an ABC, ordinary combustible, which is paper, flammable liquids, or even electrical, it's only going to give you 10 to 15 seconds, not minutes, seconds of extinguishing power. So 1,000, 2, 1,000, 10 seconds later, it could be empty. Also, they expire. That's something to keep in mind. We don't want to buy it, stick it under the counter, and 10 years later we pull it out and all we hear is because again, it expired 4 years ago. So you be careful when you buy them, or I caution you to make sure you get, I would prefer one with a gauge, one that tells you I'm good. Check for expiration dates. We do not dispose of extinguishers that have expired. The city of Detroit has a wonderful station where we call it, it's for our hazardous material station down on Ferry Street. And a couple times a week, they actually will take stuff like your smoke alarms that have expired, your fire extinguisher, paints, any of that kind of stuff that we consider hazardous that we do not want to go in those landfills.
Thank you for that, Cap. Um, so we have someone who enjoys smoking cigars. It says, what about cigars? Do we need to put those out in the sand too?
I would say, um, what I know of cigars, they're the same type that usually if you're not a puffin, they're almost fire safe. If you're not puffing really hard on them, they will eventually burn themselves out. Because I know the people that have smoked cigars, even while they're smoking them, if they hold it in their hand too long and they wave it around, they have to relight them. So I would say, but I would still have sand there. I would still err on the side of caution. Have something there for any and everybody with all their smoking utensils. They can actually have there to extinguish if necessary.
Okay, thank you. And we have a question about if we are going to use a turkey fryer, when should we use it? And are there any other tips or tricks?
I'm the wrong person to have through this because I think turkey fryers are extremely dangerous. I do, because people always put too much oil in them. They should have a fill line. And I would say never put a wet turkey in there or any wet anything into grease or the water that's in oxygen. Remember H2O? It's got oxygen in that water, and then when you introduce that oxygen into some hot grease, poof! Now you got a fire. So never put anything wet. Never overfill it. If there's a fill line, because once that grease gets hot and you put something down into it, it's actually going to go up way higher than it actually says. So I would underfill it. Um, and I don't know. I'm just not. I don't think turkey fryers are safe.
Yeah,
I would not use them.
right. I understand. The one thing that we've learned and that the statistics from the NFPA has shown is that um, the precautions that need to go in place when you're utilizing those turkey fryers are to make sure that you're not that like you stated, you don't overfill the turkey fryer, that you utilize the turkey fryer outside, not in your home, not on your porch, not in your garage, but outside in the open and 10 feet away from all potential combustibles. Make sure that the clothing that you have on is tight so that you avoid putting your clothing into the grease and potentially catching a burn or something like that. Additionally, you want to make sure that that turkey, as you stated, is dry and it's thawed out and it's not frozen. We've talked about this during the Thanksgiving time of year as well, but definitely those particular precautions will keep you safe if you decide to utilize a turkey fryer. I'm more of a traditionalist, so I go with the oven, but those particular precautions should be in place if you decide to use a turkey fryer. So that'll be the conclusion of tonight's webinar. Thank you for joining us tonight. And as a reminder, save the date for Wednesday, April 9th, where we will help you learn how to make a fire escape plan for your home and your business. And our subject matter expert at that time will be Captain Edward Davis of Detroit Fire Marshal Division Public Instruction Unit. So to all my Detroiters, have a great night, and we'll see you next time. Be safe, Detroit.